And away we go, episode 1317 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, May 4th, 2026. It is Star Wars Day, 2026. May the 4th be with you. Actually, I'm not a big Star Wars person. I have nothing against Star Wars. I just never got that into it. I do know that Ricky Jean-Francois, during his time as a Washington Redskins defensive lineman, I always like saying his name, Ricky Jean-Francois. He, during his time as a Skins defensive lineman, wore Star Wars-themed cleats. So there is that. Actually, he wore the cleats for one of the great wins for our team over the last 15 years, the 38-24 win at the Philadelphia Eagles on December 26th, 2015 to clinch the NFC East. The Force was with the Skins on that Saturday night, a primetime game in which you-know-who bowled out, but I digress. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. This also is the podcast that follows Washington, D.C. area sports, so that you don't have to. Great to have you with us. Next segment, a conversation with an all-time voice. I will speak with the legendary radio voice of Ohio State football and men's basketball, Paul Keels, longtime radio play-by-play announcer for Ohio State football and men's basketball. Paul Keels. We will discuss the man who the Washington Commanders took with the number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, linebacker Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. Paul Keels knows Sonny Styles well. Insight on Styles as a player and person. Next segment. Also, I'll get Paul's take on another Ohio State product on Washington, receiver Terry McLaurin, the legendary radio voice of Ohio State football and men's basketball. Paul Keels. Next segment with great perspective on Sonny Styles. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats, they over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the Milwaukee Brewers at Nationals Park. The O's, they over the weekend lost the first 3 games of a 4-game wraparound series at the New York Yankees. The O's have gotten outscored in the series so far 27-9. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. And if you want Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a 5-star rating. On the podcast, we'll read whatever you write in writing a review of the podcast. And what you write could be a sports take. In other words, you don't just have to write about the podcast. From Murph1155 on Apple Podcasts, writes Murph. Awesome coverage every day, listening since the 980 days. Thank you very much for that, Murph. Email from Oscar in Columbia. I'm assuming that that's Columbia, Maryland, but maybe not. Oscar writes regarding Washington receiver Antonio Williams, who Washington took in the 3rd round of the 2026 NFL Draft out of Clemson. We, on this past Friday's show, episode 1316, got great analysis of Williams via our conversation with Washington Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room on Substack. Writes Oscar, hey Al, longtime listener from the early 980 days, and my first time reaching out. Before I ask my question, I wanted to thank you for the years of insights and information you've provided. You are phenomenal at what you do. And I don't think my DC fandom would be as informed if it weren't for you and a few others. You were one of the first who I can remember with common sense views early in the Snyder tenure, and that really cemented how rational and pragmatic your views are in my book. Keep it up, and thank you again for all the years of smart, insightful comments. The question I had stems from Adam Peters' press conference on Antonio Williams. Adam described Antonio as having a high FBI. Do you know if that is an analytics metric quantitatively derived that the public maybe isn't familiar with, or simply short for football intelligence? Thanks. Well, thank you very much for that, Oscar. Yes, FBI in football means football intelligence. Now, ESPN does have the FPI, which stands for Football Power Index. That is an analytics thing, but FBI in football simply means football intelligence. Email from Doc Martin in Tally on the Washington Commanders and Washington Senators. Writes Doc, hi Al. After the thrilling 2024 season and attending the playoff win against the Bucs in Tampa, I got tickets to 2 games in 2025, traveling to Atlanta to see our uninspired team lose to the Falcons with Marcus Mariota at quarterback, and then I saw our team get pummeled at home by the Seahawks. I had to stay to the end of that one, even after JD5 was carried off, because my girlfriend and soon-to-be fiance is a Seahawks fan. At least I have a good backup team now to root for, and thanks to the Seahawks D and Jason Myers for winning my fantasy championship last season. LOL. It had been over a year since I had written, but after hearing your recent recap of the Senators' brief tenure as Washington's baseball team, I was inspired to write that I'm old enough, barely, to have attended a few Senators games, and I remember those painted white seats in the outfield where Frank Howard's home run bombs landed. I am honored to say that I met Frank Howard at a sports memorabilia signing event at Springfield Mall. Does it still exist? In about 2006. He was a monument of a man, R.I.P., and was so nice explaining that one of my items to be signed was a mini poster of his rookie season in practice uniform with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Anyway, am locking back in for a hopeful 2026 football season. Keep up the good work, Al. All of us outside of the D.C. region really appreciate your work. Sincerely, Doc Martin in Tally. Thank you very much for the email, Doc. Congrats on the soon-to-be fiance. Yeah, man, Frank Howard, the former Washington Senators outfielder and first baseman, the man known as Hondo, he died on October 30th, 2023, 4 years to the day of the Nats winning the 2019 World Series. He was 87, but how about that? He died on the 4-year anniversary of the Nats winning the World Series. Frank Howard played for the Senators for the 1965 through 1971 season, so the Senators became the Texas Rangers in 1972. He, over his time as a Senators player, had 4 consecutive regular seasons, each with at least 36 home runs, 1967 through 1970. If you want to go sabermetrics, Howard, from 1968 through 1970, had an OPS plus of at least 170 for each regular season. That is sensational. OPS plus is OPS, on base percentage, plus slugging percentage, that is adjusted for a player's league and home ballpark. 100 is average, above 100 is good, and OPS plus of 170 in each of 3 consecutive regular seasons is spectacular. And Frank Howard was a product of Ohio State. And in the next segment, we'll talk Sonny Styles with the legendary radio voice of Ohio State football and men's basketball, Paul Keels. If you would like to grow your business or practice, consider advertising on this podcast. Podcast advertising works and is very affordable. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Get your message out there to thousands of successful people in the Washington, D.C. area. We'd love to have you on board. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is the Al Galdi Podcast at yahoo.com. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend, the big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel, but it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVanish.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com. The Washington Commanders will hold a 3-day rookie minicamp this coming Friday through Sunday. Head coach Dan Quinn is scheduled to do a pre-practice press conference on Friday, but Quinn was on ESPN's The Rich Eisen Show this past Thursday afternoon, and we, during the conversation, had this back and forth regarding the man who Washington on April 23rd took with the number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, linebacker Sonny Styles out of Ohio State.
The Combine. I've done the Combine now for 20 plus years on NFL Network. Yep. Can count on the number of times on one hand that I was blown away by a Combine performance, saying it's one of the best I've ever seen. And his was that. What about for you?
Yeah, I think it's rare. You know, you've covered it enough, and certainly me being in the league long enough. This type of linebacker, the athletic traits, the speeds, the size, the length, it's not an every year player. And I'm a developmental coach, man. I can't wait to coach him. And he's hungry for it. He wants to improve. Seeing, his first couple of years at DB and then shifting down to linebacker at the start of the 24 season, I just feel like this guy's going to take off. Reps at the position and just seeing it more and more. Man, I can't wait to get rolling with him.
Yeah, I know. When you say I'm a developmental coach, I can't wait to get started on coaching him. Can you pull back some of the layers for the
Sure.
fans here? Like, what do you mean by that? What will you do? Like, when you see this kid, you will do what?
He has such unique traits to him. And so we'll play a lot of zone where we'll have vision to the QB, and you can imagine this type of speed, this type of length to be able to close to the ball. Although he hasn't blitzed a ton at Ohio State, Reese was there as well. And so the fact that we're going to also send this guy as a blitzer. So I think it's that kind of versatility, where we'll align him, how we can do that. He's got the football acumen because of his time at safety, that the coverage part of his game is intact. And so to see him unleashed in some new ways, that's going to be something that, I very much look forward to being a part of.
Do you possibly green dot him? Do you green dot him?
In the practice, we'll certainly consider that, and a number of guys will have it during their practice times, but he is definitely capable of that. And it's one of the nice things now with the guys already doing that in college, Rich, that in the old days we'd wait, does he have the leadership? Does he have that space? And so for him, he's the type of player that can certainly handle that.
So Dan Quinn not hesitating in saying that Sonny Styles, as a rookie, could be Washington's green dot guy. For much more on Styles, it is a pleasure to welcome to the Al Galdi podcast the legendary radio voice of Ohio State football and men's basketball, Paul Keels. Paul has been the radio play-by-play announcer for Ohio State football and men's basketball since 1998, working for the Ohio State Buckeyes radio network and WBNS radio, which is 97.1 The Fan in Columbus, Ohio. Paul, very nice to talk to you. How are you?
I'm good. My pleasure. I'm glad to do it.
You were born in Washington, D.C., is that correct?
I was. Actually, I caught my parents a little early on vacation, but I was raised in Cincinnati. But yes, born in Washington, D.C., and then later on in life spent a year working there for the old United Press International Radio Network.
Nice. When were you in D.C. working for UPI?
From August of 1988 to May of 1989.
And were you doing sports or something else?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that time frame is right during the glory days of the Washington Redskins.
Well, and the funny part about it, Al, too, and we joke about it. So my partner on the Ohio State football broadcast, Jim Lachey, who played for the Redskins, he had just been traded to Washington from the L.A. Raiders during that year. So we kind of have a joke that we both were living in D.C. in the D.C. area at the same time, but we didn't know one another.
That's so funny. All right, Sonny Styles. He played college football for 4 seasons, all for Ohio State, 2022 through 2025, so you got to know him well. What comes to mind when you think about Styles' career at Ohio State?
Well, the first thing, Al, is the fact that, and you guys may or may not be aware of this, but Sonny reclassified out of high school and played as a freshman at Ohio State when he should have been a senior in high school. And they put him in the lineup. He initially played as a big safety, but eventually transitioned to linebacker. But it was very early on where you could see where his great athletic ability would really be a benefit to them on defense. And once he moved to linebacker, he was able to have an immediate impact on what they played. His athleticism really showed out. I know the coaches really relied on him a lot as far as how he studied game plans and things like that. And you really saw him play his best football toward the end of his career.
Sonny Styles was a safety for the 2022 and 2023 seasons, was a linebacker for the 2024 and 2025 seasons. What brought about the position change?
I think it was the fact that he kind of grew into being a linebacker. He got a little bigger and a little stronger, but there was a need at the linebacker spot too. And there was some depth at safety there as well that allowed them to do that. But there seemed to have been kind of a feeling all along, Al, that eventually he would move into being a linebacker. That was just kind of something that we were made aware of all along through his process. And you really saw how it impacted Ohio State, in particular, when they won the national championship a couple of years ago. He in that 4-game run they had, I think he had like 20-some tackles, multiple sacks, multiple forced fumbles. So he really kind of grew into playing his best football against the best competition.
Was that the point at which you realized that Sonny Styles could be a top 10 pick in an NFL draft, or was that point more this past season?
It really was during that championship run in 2024. You thought that this was a guy, again, because of his size, how quickly he moved around the field at that size, that he could be a guy that could be an NFL type of player. And really, it was just kind of a continuation of what Ohio State has done with a number of their defensive players. And you see what happened in the draft this year with so many guys that went early. So probably during that championship run at 24, that really kind of solidified the thought on that.
In terms of how Ohio State used Sonny Styles as a linebacker, was he more of a traditional linebacker or new age linebacker?
If you had to pick one, I'll probably say more new age. Because of his time as a safety, he was pretty adept at dropping into pass coverage and doing some of those things. But, these linebackers at Ohio State also have been able to take advantage of the great play in front of them with the defensive linemen they've had. So that was something that also allowed Sonny to make a lot of the plays that he made.
Sonny Styles' athleticism and background as a safety are reasons to think that he can be an NFL linebacker who excels in pass coverage. What stood out to you about Styles in pass coverage? That probably the first thing, his movement on the field, but just the way that he was able to diagnose plays, and more than anything, and as a layperson, really seeing that he just always seemed to be around the ball, whether he was making the tackle or whether he was near the group that was making tackles. Sonny just seemed to be one of those guys. The ball drew him to it, or he was drawn to the ball, however you want to look at it. He just was one of those guys that seemed to always be around the center of what was going on for a defense. We're talking Sonny Styles with the legendary radio voice of Ohio State football and men's basketball, Paul Keels. Styles, in his first season as a linebacker, 2024, had some missed tackles, but he in the 2025 regular season per Pro Football Focus had 0 missed tackles. His improvement as a tackler, is that something that you noticed in calling his games?
Absolutely. And then that was something that worked generally for the defense as a whole, too. And really, I think a lot of it was the fact that he took advantage of some of the coaching around him, too. When you think about James Laurinaitis, who's been the linebackers coach and had a nice NFL career, but also the influence, especially this past year, of being around Matt Patricia, a coordinator with NFL experience, obviously. So it certainly would seem that, what Sonny's been able to do is just be a sponge and learn from, the coaches that he's been around, as well as the players, take advantage of the players that are around him.
Sonny Styles this past August was given the honor of wearing Ohio State's coveted Block O jersey for the 2025 season. I wonder if you could speak to the significance of that.
Well, and for those who may not know, Bill Willis, who was an All-American defensive lineman, played in the NFL. He was a guy that was really recognized, as well as so many other great Ohio State defenders in the past. So it was something that came about a few years ago. Every year, somebody will be given the Block O, kind of as a symbolic move for somebody who not only has played at a high level, but has shown good leadership and has come through great advancement in their game. And it really was no surprise that Sonny was the young man that was chosen for this. It's always interesting interesting to see. We always, those of us in the media that cover the team, we kind of always have a guess as to who it might be. Jonathan Cooper, who's with the Denver Broncos, he was a guy that had it. A few years ago, there was a young man by the name of Cameron Babb. He was a wide receiver that didn't play an awful lot, and he overcame multiple knee injuries to be a special teams player, and he was given that honor. But it was really no surprise that, Sonny did it when you think about everything he did. A second-generation Ohio State player, his father, Lorenzo, who played here and played in the NFL. So a big honor, and he was very deserving of it.
What about Sonny Styles, the person? He's said to be smart and mature and a leader. He certainly comes off as being those things.
And I think a lot of that, Al, has to do with the fact that the influence of his family and his parents, and obviously having a father who was, such a big figure in football. But also, too, I think it's certainly is a tribute to what he came through his high school system in Pickerington and being around the people and the coaches that he was around at Ohio State. A lot of, you can talk about the defensive coaches and all of that, but that's one of the things that Ryan Day has been really good about, tapping into good people, good families, but also the influence he has on them. And, just pointing out the important things, not just playing football, but the important things in life that can give young men an opportunity to succeed, whether it's being drafted like Sonny was or going into other life's work.
Any particular games that strike you as being especially impressive for Sonny Styles during his time at Ohio State?
Again, Al, it would go back to that 4-game run to a national championship. You just really saw some of the plays he made. I can't sit there and tell you it was a particular play or one of those particular games, but what he was able to do in making plays there, against Tennessee, against Oregon, against Texas, and then Notre Dame in the championship game. It was just very easy to see that this is a young man that really grabbed a hold of his talent and made it show on the field.
Sonny Styles this past February 26th putting on a show at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, measured as being 6'5" and 244 pounds, measured as having a wingspan of 80 7/8 inches, and registered the following: 40-yard dash time of 4.46 seconds, vertical jump of 43.5 inches, broad jump of 11 feet and 2 inches. I take it that you were not surprised by what Styles did at the Combine.
No, not at all. Nor with his brother Lorenzo, too. And keep in mind, this is a young man who was a wide receiver at Notre Dame and then came to Ohio State and played as an extra defensive back and had a kickoff return for a touchdown last year. So, no, not at all surprised. And a lot of that is really tied out to Mickey Marotti, who's their strength and performance coach, just the standards they set. And, like any football team, a lot of what goes on in those training rooms and those weight and strength rooms are what really allow these players to have success. And it was certainly something that you could see by Sonny's physical development, but also his play on the field, how he really took that to heart.
The transition of Sonny Styles from safety to linebacker, did you see a guy who was doing a good bit of thinking and then reacting, or was this very much a natural transition in which the athleticism and football instincts just took over?
Yeah, it certainly looked natural. I'm sure there was a lot of thought that went into it, but it was something that it was very obvious and very apparent that it was something that he was going to be comfortable doing and something where his skill was really going to be a big asset to Ohio State.
So much talk about the Big Four out of Ohio State going into the 2026 NFL Draft. 4 of the top 11 picks were Buckeyes. The Tennessee Titans took receiver Carnell Tate at 4. The New York Giants took edge defender / linebacker Arvell Reese at 5. The Washington Commanders took linebacker Sonny Styles at 7. And the Dallas Cowboys traded up and took safety Caleb Downs at 11. Any surprise that it was Tate and not Reese or Styles who was the first of the Big Four to get drafted?
A little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. I think there was certainly the thought that Arvell Reese was probably the guy that was going to go first. But, Carnell's such a great story. Here's a guy that, has been in a wide receiver room that's got so much incredible talent, including the young man who's still there, Jeremiah Smith. Everybody knows the tragic story of what Carnell went through, losing his mother as a freshman. But a guy that has just been very humble. And really, toward the end of last season, there was a couple of games that Carnell did not play that he could have played in, but they were concerned about not wearing him out with he was dealing with a little bit of a strain. And you saw a little bit of the difference without him being out there. But he took advantage of the fact that Jeremiah Smith gets so much attention. So it was a little surprising, but not a lot surprising.
Speaking of receivers out of Ohio State, Washington's number 1 receiver for each of his 7 NFL seasons has been Terry McLaurin, who the Redskins took in the 3rd round of the 2019 NFL Draft out of Ohio State. What are your memories of McLaurin as a player for Ohio State?
One of the first things I remember is that maybe one of the first big games Terry had was against Indiana, his home state. But he was a guy that just, what you really noticed about Terry is how he could get away from defenders. His speed really kind of showed up, being able to break downfield. He had big games, big performances in big games, I should say. And he was just so darn dependable. He wasn't maybe one of those guys that was highly regarded coming in like a Jeremiah Smith was or like a Chris Olave was. But Terry was certainly a guy that made the most of his opportunity and made big plays when it really counted.
Are you surprised by how good of an NFL career Terry McLaurin has had?
Not really surprised. No, it's just kind of the way that he showed his ability at Ohio State, the way he worked and the way he played. A classy young man, and I'm sure all of you there have kind of had a chance to experience that as well. So no, not really surprised at all.
The absolute factory that Ohio State has become regarding NFL receivers, so many of the best receivers in the NFL right now are guys who went to Ohio State. Why is that?
Well, there's a few things that are tied to it, and it's the fact that, number one, Ohio State's done such a good job of putting players, regardless of position, in the NFL. Certainly, it has a lot to do with a high-level quarterback play that's been there, and a lot of that goes to Ryan Day and his acumen as a quarterback coach as well as head coach. But a lot of the credit has to go to Brian Hartline, who, as a receivers coach and as a recruiter, was able to really bring in a glut of talent to be able to do that. You look at the people that Brian Hartline brought in there when you think about, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison, Emeka Ibuka, and then the ones we've just talked about. And, it'll be interesting to see how Coach Hartline has that go at South Florida now that he's a head coach there, and also how Ohio State continues it now that he's gone.
The legendary radio voice of Ohio State football and men's basketball, Paul Keels. Paul, thank you. All the best.
My pleasure, Al. Thank you.
All right, great stuff from Paul Keels. And if you have a case, contact Chris Nace. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in: you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. Why the Washington Nationals have been so good on the road and so bad at home is anyone's guess, but the Nats on Sunday afternoon did get a win at home. Now, the Nats over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the Milwaukee Brewers at Nationals Park. Friday evening, a 6-1 loss to the Brewers in a game in which the Nats had just 2 hits. Saturday, a 4-1 loss to the Brewers, but Sunday afternoon, a 3-2 win over the Brewers to avoid a 3-game sweep. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 16-19, just 4-12 at home versus 12-7 on the road. The Nats offense has come back down to earth. They, over the 3 games in this series, total just 5 runs. The Nats now have scored 3 runs or less in 6 of the team's last 10 games. The 6-1 loss to the Brewers on Friday evening. The Nats were especially bad offensively. Just 1 run, just 2 hits, which were a double and a single. 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. 13 strikeouts. The Nats did work 5 walks, but the Nats got no hit for 6 into 3rd innings. The Nats' first hit was a 1-out first pitch opposite field double by Dalen Lyle to left field in a 1-run 7th. They got work by the Brewers starting pitcher Jacob Mizorowski, the Miz. He tossed 5 1/3 scoreless and hitless innings with 8 strikeouts. He, per StatCast, had an average 4-seam fastball velocity of 100.9 100.7 miles per hour. His four-seam fastball velocity didn't peak at 100.7 miles per hour. His average four-seam fastball velocity was 100.7 miles per hour. Mizorowski has nasty stuff, but he did leave the game due to a right hamstring cramp. The 4-1 loss to the Brewers on Saturday. The Nats were bad offensively, just 1 run, 9 hits, which were 2 doubles and 7 singles, but just 1 walk and just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The Nats struggled against Brewers starting pitcher Kyle Harrison. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings, 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. And this was a really frustrating game. The Nats in 7 of the 9 innings got the leadoff man on, but the Nats total just 1 run. In the 3-2 win over the Brewers on Sunday afternoon, the Nats won despite not being good offensively. Just 3 runs, just 7 hits, which were a triple, a double, and 5 singles. Just 1 walk, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Luis Garcia Jr. as the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter went 0 for 2, was removed from the game due to right wrist soreness. The Nats, though, got good production from C.J. Abrams, Nasim Nunez, and Jose Tena. C.J. Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 2 for 4 with 2 singles and a stolen base as his speed caused all kinds of problems for the Brewers. Abrams in the Nats' 2-run 5th had a leadoff infield single to the right side of the infield despite having been down in the count at 1.12, and he had to steal a second base. Abrams in the Nats' 1-run 7th had a leadoff first pitch single through the right side of the infield, and he advanced to second base on a balk by reliever Brian Fitzpatrick, and the speed of Abrams caused the balk. Fitzpatrick committed the balk on a pickoff throw to first base. C.J. Abrams for this regular season now has an OPS of 940, number 1 among all qualified Nats batters, 50 points better than outfielder James Wood's 890. Wood has cooled off. Nasim Nunez, he is the Nats starting second baseman and number 6 batter, went 2 for 3 with 2 RBI singles. Some very nice 2-strike hitting by Nunez. He in the Nats' 2-run 5th had a 1-out RBI single to right center field to tie the game at 1 despite having been down to the count at 1.02. And Nunez in the Nats' 1-run 7th had a 1-out RBI single through the left side of the infield on a 1-2 pitch for a 3-1 Nats lead. And Jose Tena, he is the Nats starting DH and number 7 batter, went 1 for 2 with an RBI triple. Tena in the Nats' 2-run 5th had a 1-out RBI triple off the right center field warning track for a 2-1 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.02. Just enough offense for the Nats in this 3-2 win over the Brewers on Sunday afternoon. The Nats starting pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Brewers at Nationals Park over the weekend. The 6-1 loss to the Brewers on Friday evening, Jake Irvin allowed 4 runs, 3 earned in 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 3 doubles and 3 singles. He issued 4 walks. He did record 5 strikeouts, but all of this worked out to a whopping 98 pitches over 5 innings, 60 strikes, 38 balls. Jake Irvin now for this regular season, 7 games, all starts, ERA of 4.93, whip of 1.30. What's encouraging is his strikeouts per 9 innings, 10.13. His strikeout rate is way up, was just 6.20 for last regular season. The 4-1 loss to the Brewers on Saturday, Foster Griffin allowed 3 runs, all of which were unearned in 6 innings. He gave up just 3 hits, all of which were singles. He did issue 4 walks, did record just 3 strikeouts, 97 pitches, 57 strikes, 40 balls. Griffin in the top of the first allowed 3 runs, all of which were unearned as he gave up 2 singles, issued 2 walks, and was victimized by a bases-loaded fielding error by third baseman Brady House, who botched the fielding of a grounder by Luis Rengifo. The 2 singles, the 2 walks, and the error all happened with 2 outs. Griffin in that top of the first threw 31 pitches, but Griffin then tossed 5 scoreless innings on just 66 pitches. So this, to me, overall was another good outing from Foster Griffin, who has been the Nats' best starting pitcher so far in this regular season. 7 games, all starts, ERA of 2.27, whip of 1.08. And the 3-2 win over the Brewers on Sunday afternoon, the Nats used an opener who was relief pitcher P.J. Poulin. He tossed 2 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. He tossed a perfect top of the first and tossed a scoreless top of the second despite issuing a 1-out walk and then giving up a 1-out double. And then starting pitcher Zach Littell came into the game as the Nats' bulk pitcher. He allowed 1 run in 3 2/3 innings, got pulled by manager Blake Butera at just 41 pitches, just 23 of which were strikes. Littell threw 18 balls. He, though, had been reeling, so not surprising to see the Nats in this turn for him in the rotation, use an opener, and very much limit for how long he pitched, but this was a step in the right direction for Zach Littell. We, during Blake Butera's postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon, had these exchanges.
What was Zach doing today that allowed him to bounce back from the last 3 starts particularly?
I think he just did a really good job of living on the edges, not really leaving pitches over the middle of the plate. Also, he was ahead a ton, threw a bunch of strikes, which he always does, but I think he did a really good job of missing barrels by not missing over the heart of the plate.
You mentioned that frustration was kind of the prevailing emotion for Littell after his last few starts. What do you feel like was the prevailing emotion when he came out today?
I think a sigh of relief. Probably haven't had a chance to sit down with him and talk through how he's feeling right now. There's obviously a lot of moves after that we had to make. But no, just seeing him have success today and look like the pitcher we expect to have and see the rest of the year. It was good to see him out there having success, getting guys out, and just doing his thing.
What were some of the things that you all worked on with him in between starts that you saw translate well today?
I think the biggest thing was some, maybe some sequencing. Honestly, it wasn't a ton. I know he was working on a couple minor things mechanically, but it's more so just mentality of living on the edges, not leaving pitches over the center of the plate, and mixing speeds. And I thought he did a really good job of that.
All right, and a salute to P.J. Poulin. He is the only Nats reliever who has been used as an opener in this regular season. The team is now embracing analytics like never before and using this opener strategy. Has only used Poulin as an opener in this regular season, for which he has the following stats as an opener. 5 starts, 6 into third innings, 1 run allowed, so an ERA of 1.42, whip of 0.95. P.J. Poulin as an opener is doing quite well, and the Nats relief pitching overall has been better lately. Nats relievers in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the New York Mets last Tuesday through Thursday combined to allow 1 run in 12 into third innings, and you look at Nats relievers in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Brewers at Nationals Park over the weekend. The 6-1 loss to the Brewers on Friday evening, 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 2 runs, both of which were unearned in 4 innings. Now, among the Nats relievers who pitched in this game was Cionel Perez, who it turns out was on waivers. He tossed 2 scoreless innings, but the Nats on Saturday afternoon announced that Perez had cleared outright waivers and had been assigned outright to AAA Rochester. And the way that the waiver process works is a player is put on waivers, and then it's not until a day or so later that you learn whether he cleared waivers. Now, teams almost certainly put players on waivers far more often than we realize, and we just don't hear about the teams doing this. But Perez, very interestingly, was tossing 2 scoreless innings on Friday evening while on waivers. As Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, continues to make a bunch of roster moves with the bullpen. The 4-1 loss to the Brewers on Saturday, 2 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. Among the Nats relievers who pitched in this game was Orlando Rebolta. He tossed a perfect top of the 9th. The Nats on Saturday afternoon announced having recalled Rebolta from AAA Rochester. And the 3-2 win over the Brewers on Sunday afternoon, the Nats used 3 relievers beyond using reliever P.J. Poulin as an opener and using starting pitcher Zach Littell as a bulk man. Mitchell Parker was terrific. He tossed 2 perfect innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. Gus Varland officially allowed 1 run in 2/3 of an inning, and Richard Lovelady officially tossed a 2/3 of a scoreless inning for the save. Also, with the Nats bullpen, the agency for free agent relief pitcher Max Kranick late Friday morning announced that he is signing with the Nats, though they have yet to officially announce the signing. Max Kranick underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow in June 2022 and underwent right flexor tendon surgery in July 2025, so a pretty significant injury history. And also with the Nats losing 2 out of 3 games against the Brewers at Nationals Park over the weekend was the Nats defense being a big problem over the first 2 games of the series. So the 6-1 loss to the Brewers on Friday evening, starting pitcher Jake Irvin in the top of the first allowed a run, but it was unearned as he gave up a leadoff double by Garrett Mitchell off the right field warning track, and then Mitchell scored from third base on a 1-out pass ball by catcher Drew Millis, who initially didn't recognize that the ball had gotten by him. Millis whiffed on catching the ball and initially didn't realize that he had whiffed on catching the ball. Also in this game, reliever Andre Granillo allowed 2 runs, both of which were unearned in 1 inning, which was a laborious top of the 8th in which he threw 40 pitches in giving up 3 singles and issuing a walk. Also in the inning was a fielding error by second baseman Nasim Nunez. And also in this game, reliever Paxton Schultz tossed a scoreless top of the ninth, despite a two-out fielding error by first baseman Curtis Mead, and despite giving up a two-out single. The 4-1 loss to the Brewers on Saturday, starting pitcher Foster Griffin in the top of the first allowed 3 runs, all of which were unearned, thanks to that bases-loaded fielding error by third baseman Brady House. And also in this game was shortstop C.J. Abrams committing a fielding error. The Nats, in their 3-2 win over the Brewers on Sunday afternoon, did not commit an error, but right fielder James Wood, he and the Brewers' one-run ninth, lost a routine fly ball in the sun for a one-out full-count single by former Baltimore Oriole Gary Sanchez to right center field. But Sanchez was not hustling, so he only got a single. The Nats, for this regular season, as of games through Saturday, were dead last in MLB in fewest errors, 32. The next worst total was the Tampa Bay Rays, 25. Now, errors are not a great way to judge team defense, but they're also not totally meaningless. And it was impossible to ignore how Blake Butera, during his postgame press conference on Saturday evening, talked about the Nats defense. Here you go.
Look, we want to play winning baseball. We want to win a lot of games. And in order to do that, we can't make this many mistakes. To lead the league in errors, we can do all the work we want to pregame, but if we're not looking at what that work is and not making adjustments to it, then we're not doing our job, and we're going to adjust our pregame work, and we're going to try something a little bit different.
Yeah, fielding matters a lot. You in baseball have run scoring and run prevention. Run scoring is predicated on batting and base running. Run prevention is predicated on pitching and defense. The Nats pitching, well, better lately. Overall, has not been good. What would help the pitching is if the defense was better. But defense has been a problem for the Nats for years, even going back to when the team was good. No game for the Nats on Monday. Next up for them is a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins at Nationals Park. The Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1, Tuesday evening at 6:45, Cade Cavalli. Game 2, Wednesday evening at 6:45, Miles Michaelis. Game 3, Thursday afternoon at 1:05, Jake Irvin. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Well, the Baltimore Orioles are in the midst of getting walloped in a 4-game wraparound series at the New York Yankees. How about the first 3 games of this series? Friday night, a 7-2 loss at the Yankees. Saturday afternoon, a 9-4 loss at the Yankees. And Sunday afternoon, an 11-3 loss at the Yankees in a game in which the O's allowed 7 runs in the bottom of the 8th. The O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 15-19. The Yankees in this regular season now are an American League best 23-11. So little has gone well for the O's in this series so far. Bad offense for the O's. The 7-2 loss at the Yankees on Friday night. The O's were not good offensively. Just 2 runs, just 3 hits, which were a home run and 2 singles, just 2 walks, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, 12 strikeouts. The 9-4 loss at the Yankees on Saturday afternoon. The O's, not good offensively. 4 runs, so just 4 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 2 singles, just 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The O's did draw 5 walks. And the 11-3 loss at the Yankees on Sunday afternoon. The O's were at best so-so offensively, just 3 runs, 9 hits, which were a double, and 8 singles, 3 walks, 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The O's for this regular season now have a team OPS of 705, middle of the pack in MLB, but the offense in so many ways just has not been what the offense was supposed to be. Way too many guys are not coming through. Now, a bright spot for the O's in this series so far has been Pete Alonso. The 7-2 loss at the Yankees on Friday night. Alonso, as the Orioles starting first baseman and number 4 batter, went 1 for 2 with a solo homer and 2 walks. The 9-4 loss at the Yankees on Saturday afternoon. Alonso, as the Orioles starting DH and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. In the 11-3 loss at the Yankees on Sunday afternoon, Alonso, as the Orioles starting DH and number 3 batter, went 2 for 4 with a double and a single. Pete Alonso for this regular season now has an OPS of 743. His OPS has come up a good bit recently. Good to see that. But the O's over the first 3 games of this series have gotten outscored 27-9. Not enough firepower for the O's, and the pitching for the O's has been horrible. The biggest problem for the O's right now is their starting pitching, which has been a huge disappointment. And yes, there are the injuries. Trevor Rogers is on the 15-day injured list due to illness. Dean Kramer is on the 15-day injured list due to a right quadricep strain. Zach Eflin is on the 60-day injured list and is done for the season due to right elbow UCL reconstruction that he underwent on April 8th. But still, the O's came into this regular season with what was, on paper, the team's best starting pitching rotation in years. People like me were saying that, right? Best starting pitching rotation for the O's in years. And yet here we are with the O's for this regular season having the following starting pitching stats. ERA of 4.95, whip of 1.57. Extremely disappointing. The 7-2 loss at the Yankees on Friday night, the Orioles starting pitcher was Cade Povich. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having recalled Povich from AAA Norfolk, and Povich on Friday night allowed 5 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 7 hits, which were 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 2 singles. He issued 2 walks, recorded 4 strikeouts through 77 pitches, 46 strikes, 31 balls. The 9-4 loss at the Yankees on Saturday afternoon, Kyle Bradish had another bad outing. He allowed 5 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and a single. He issued 4 walks, one of which was intentional. He issued a wild pitch, did record 4 strikeouts, but Bradish over his mere 4 innings threw 89 pitches, 51 strikes, 38 balls. And so Kyle Bradish now in this regular season, 7 games, all starts, ERA of 5.03, whip of 1.82. He has been so bad. This is the same guy who was so good in the 2023 regular season. He in June 2024 underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow, but he at the major league level last regular season over 6 games, all starts, was very good. There was every reason to believe that he was good to go, but he so far has struggled big time. During O's manager Craig Albernaz's post-game session with reporters on Saturday afternoon, had these exchanges.
Probably another tougher day for Bradish. Just what were you seeing from his stuff out there?
Yeah, I was falling behind. Looked like he had a tough time commanding the curveball and slider early, especially in the first inning. And he was just chasing from behind as far as count leverage. And when he made the pitches out over, they didn't miss him.
He never really had command or walk issues before this season. Is there any discussion or any thoughts that this could be something mechanical or something else going on that's kind of causing some of these command issues?
Yeah, for sure. Those conversations are ongoing for sure. Like, we're trying to problem solve to get the best version of KB, and we're not seeing it yet. And that's the thing that our coaching staff with this Frenchie and Clemic and Plas are really trying to problem solve to kind of get KB back to being KB.
Yeah, KB right now is not KB. And the 11-3 loss at the Yankees on Sunday afternoon, the Orioles starting pitcher was Trey Gibson. The O's on Sunday afternoon announced having selected the contract of Gibson from AAA Norfolk. He's the Orioles' number 3 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline. Interesting story, Gibson pitched collegiately for Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. He was suspended for his junior season, the 2023 season, when undrafted in the 2023 MLB first-year player draft. The O's actually signed Gibson as an amateur free agent in August 2023, but he, for the O's in the minors, has done well. In fact, the O's this past September 24th named Gibson their top minor league pitcher for the 2025 season. This season is his age 24 season, but Gibson on Sunday afternoon in his MLB regular season debut allowed 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings. He gave up 4 hits, all of which were extra base hits, 2 home runs and 2 doubles, issued 2 walks, recorded 2 strikeouts, threw a lot of pitches, did throw a good number of strikes, 87 pitches, 56 strikes, 31 balls. Gibson in the bottom of the first allowed a run as he gave up a went-out first pitch solo homer by Ben Rice to right field for a 1-0 Yankees lead. Gibson in the bottom of the third allowed 2 runs as he gave up a went-out 2-run homer by Aaron Judge to left center field for a 3-1 Yankees lead. And then there is the Orioles relief pitching. A lot going on with that as Orioles president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Elias, like Washington Nationals president of baseball operations Paul Taboni, is making a lot of bullpen moves these days. So first of all, another injury for the injury-ravaged O's. The O's on Friday evening announced having put their closer, Ryan Helsley, on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to April 29th. This due to right elbow inflammation. The O's on Saturday morning announced having option reliever Tyler Wells to AAA Norfolk. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having option reliever Cameron Foster to AAA Norfolk. The 7-2 loss at the Yankees on Friday night. 2 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 4 innings. Among those relievers, Albert Suarez, who was back and then was gone. He allowed 1 run in 2 2/3 innings, issued 4 walks, did give up just 1 hit, which was a single, did record 3 strikeouts, but he overs 2 2/3 innings through a staggering 65 pitches, just 32 strikes versus 33 balls. But how about the last few days for Suarez? The O's on April 26th announced having designated Suarez for assignment. The O's on April 30th signed Suarez to a minor league contract. The O's on Friday evening, May 1st, announced having selected the contract of Suarez from AAA Norfolk. And the O's the next day, Saturday morning, announced having designated Suarez for assignment. The O's DFA'd the guy twice in a span of just 7 days. The 9-4 loss at the Yankees on Saturday afternoon. 5 Orioles relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 4 innings. 2 of the Orioles relievers who pitched in this game were Dietrich Enns and Nick Riquet. Dietrich Enns is back. He officially tossed a scoreless inning. Bottom of the 7th, faced 3 batters, got 3 outs despite giving up a 2-out double. The O's on Saturday morning announced having reinstated Enns from the 15-day injured list. He had been on that since April 6th, retroactive to April 4th due to a left foot infection. And Nick Riquet, he tossed a scoreless and hitless bottom of the 8th. The O's on Saturday morning announced having recalled Riquet from AAA Norfolk, but the O's on Sunday afternoon announced having optioned Riquet back to AAA Norfolk. And then the 11-3 loss at the Yankees on Sunday afternoon. 5 Orioles relievers combined to allow 8 runs in 3 1/3 innings. Andrew Kittredge officially allowed 7 runs in 1/3 of an inning. And so now the O's have lost 4 consecutive games. The 2026 team looks a lot like the disappointing 2025 team. We, during Craig Albernaz's post-game session with reporters on Sunday afternoon, had this exchange between O's insider Jacob Calvin-Meyer of the Baltimore Sun and Albernaz.
This is the most adversity that you guys have faced so far this season. I guess what's your message to sort of the guys behind the scenes to be able to weather this moving forward?
Yeah, there's adversity in this game at all times. And all these guys have been through adversity. That's how they got into that clubhouse. And for me, it's at a crucial point where what team do you want to be? You know, we can fold up, you know, and just thinking that everything will turn around just by itself, or we got to put the work in and really make this happen. And I feel with those guys in the clubhouse, I feel it'll beat a lot of these guys and put the work in, and we'll be better as the season goes on.
Hopefully, but the O's right now are a mess. Game 4 for the O's at the Yankees, Monday night at 7:05. Shane Baz will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1318. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Baltimore Orioles. The O's are at the New York Yankees, Monday night at 7:05 for Game 4 of a 4-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Do you green dot him?
In the practice, we'll certainly consider that, and a number of guys will have it during their practice times, but he is definitely capable of that. And it's one of the nice things now with the guys already doing that in college, Rich, that in the old days we'd wait, does he have the leadership, does he have that space? And so for him, he's the type of player that can certainly handle that.